You mentioned male brain. Me and Tommy Boy there were having a bit of a chat before you guys tuned in about the male brain, female brain, and the idea of in the transgender community you often hear, I've always had a male brain, or I've always had a female brain. What is a male brain and a female brain?
So during development, during embryogenesis, what happens is primarily because of testosterone, there's two hemispheres in our brain. Mm-hmm. So just imagine your brain being divided into right hemisphere and left hemisphere. And what we know is that testosterone, so the male brain, there's more connections between the neurons within the hemispheres. So that the actual regions of the brain are exactly the same between male and female, but the connections that link all of those neurons are much, much tighter in a male brain than in a female brain. And in a female brain, the connections that cross the hemispheres are much tighter. There's much more of them. And so this leads to females, having certain characteristics, a female-like brain, whereas males have a more male-like brain. And one of the male-like brain characteristics is even from young children, they're more likely to do rough and tumble play, form packs and compete against each other, and just be more aggressive just in their day-to-day playing than females. And that's because these regions of their brains are more interconnected.
So to think about within, again, the transgender community, therefore, can someone born biologically a female have what is called a male brain? Is that possible?
Are we talking about identity, or are we talking about the sort of physiological structure?
Well, if there's a physiological structure, does that impact the identity?
So as the brain develops during embryogenesis, what I've just talked about happens very, very early on. So all of those interconnections are happening within the first 3 months. And so that can't change.
Right.
But what you're talking about, identity, actually right at the end of the pregnancy, there's another surge. So there's a surge of testosterone or a surge of estradiol, male or female. And that sets up identity. So if that bit if that bit is challenged, then we can have a discord between the male-like brain and the identity. So these things that we're talking about are developing during embryogenesis at different times. There's like a timeline, and it just depends on these androgen surges and estrogen surges during pregnancy, and it sets up different parts of the brain at different times.
And I wonder if that's a perfect example of talking about the language we use in society today. I mean, talking about a male brain, it almost sounds like you're talking, there's 2 points to figure out the male brain. There's the physiological side, then there's the identity side. And if the two people having the conversation, or the two parts of society, are referencing that from different positions, how do you have the conversation? How do you go, well, science or physiologically saying this is what a male brain is, and someone goes, no, that's not what a male brain is, because they're talking about the other version of it.
Yeah, I'd actually argue that there's 3 points that we should be talking about, because the third one is your sexual partner preference. So that can also differ from your identity. Yeah. So that again occurs, and they know this actually from animal studies where they intervene with the hormone surges, and so there's 3 distinct points during the brain development where we get a male-like brain behavior from a physiological point of view, and then there's the one that does the sexual partner preference, and then there's a third point that does identity, and that's just prior to birth.